Hey everyone, welcome back to the CAF Plus channel. We've got a fun interview for you tonight. It's we don't talk illustration artwork here too often, but we have been of late. But the thing is, we've doing a direct interview live with you for somebody who's been on CAF for a long time and has been a friend of mine for a long time. Works with me on the Infected by Art project, and yeah, I've mentioned his name a few times on the channel before, but we've never got the chance to meet him. So let me bring Todd Spoor into the show. Hey Todd, how's it going, man?
Good, Bill. How's it going?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. We got a lot of stuff going on around here. We have New York Comic Cons this weekend. So I'm not going to that, but most everybody else on the CAF team is heading that way. Actually, all but Tatiana and I, who are the two main, like illustration art related people here. You've met Tatiana a few times, probably at IX, but you didn't know it. But yeah, we're the only ones not going. Everybody else is going to be going and hanging out in New York City for the weekend.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I got to actually say, I have a little beef with you to start with. I,
Uh-oh.
what
What's
I
that?
just saw that you have 300 plus uh, podcasts here, and did I finally make it on after
I can make it even worse
300?
for you. I was actually we've done over 1,200 live streams since the pandemic.
Oh
So
my
yes, you're actually more like that. But a lot of the other stuff is more selling shows, and
God.
I have a regular CAF update show that I do every Thursday, which is kind of like just it's kind of our variety show on the channel where we talk about the hobby. I will swing a guest in for special announcements about a Kickstarter or something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so yeah, we've done a lot, and yeah, it's long overdue. I don't know why. At the end of the day, and I say we don't talk a lot about illustration art. That's not true. Tatiana's been doing shows, regularly for the last, since the beginning of the year, and but illustrate it just doesn't come up that often, right? I mean, when we focus a lot on comic art, we sometimes that I certainly could say in the when I was running things here on the Cat Flush channel by myself, I didn't bring it up too often, only because
Sure.
what everybody's love on comic art fans is it's comic art generally. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I've always encouraged people to post everything, whether it's old time magazine illustration, newspaper illustration, Magic the Gathering art, you name it. I want everything on CAF because I love collecting illustration art just as much as I love collecting comic book artwork.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that because that's one of the things that drew me to CAF even before, I knew you was that I could go on and look up, certain titles of old magazines that I had as a kid and look at old covers and nine times out of 10, that stuff would be on there. So, it was definitely impressive that that amount of material was on there at that time. And it's gotten way bigger since then.
Right. Yeah, no, it's right, because I think probably right before you came on, Patrick Wilshire had been using CAF a lot to post his collection on the site, and he and I had started emailing, and um I probably went to the second IX art show, that sort of thing. So, so it was there. It just even at that point in time, I didn't have a lot of illustration art in my collection. Namely,
Right.
is where did I buy it? Where would you buy it? Outside of maybe some auction houses and those sorts of things. That and we're talking like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, I think IX is on its 18th year this year. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah.
yeah, until IX came around, you would just find people at random shows, like San Diego always had like a illustration section in it. Donato would set up there, Alan Williams, a few others, um, but I never, they were never like the busy booths, right? I mean, it was there and they were given recognition, but I don't think
Right.
that San Diego was a great venue for them, and that's why you don't see Donato there any longer, and you don't see Alan Williams there, and you still see folks like Bill Stout,
Yeah.
posting, but they have strong ties into comic books and
Yeah.
more pop culture illustration, I guess, than some of those other guys. But you know what? Initially, we're not really here to talk about about all that. We should be talking
Really?
about you. You've only
Yeah.
been waiting, I don't know, 1,200 episodes to get on here.
Yeah.
Um, so let's start there. Now, for those in the chat, how we're getting baseball scores tonight. Thank you, Rich Danny's. But we we always kind of like to start off with origin stories and how you got started in just collecting art in general. And I know that you've certainly got you have a lot of different passions as a collector, and
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if art was first or if it was movie posters. So why don't you give me a little background on yourself?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've, loved art. Back in high school, I had I had an art scholarship and I had a football scholarship. And stupidly, I took the football scholarship and got hurt and regretted it ever since. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I've always loved art. Um, Collected movie posters. I wrote a book on movie posters. It's called The World's Rarest Movie Posters. I've done authentication for Heritage, for Christie's. So I've done a lot with movie posters, especially the older stuff. Been doing that for a lot of years. Really kind of gotten out of it recently. But yeah, I've always loved art. I was a kid that collected comic books, probably like everybody on here. I really loved the covers. Is really what drew me to different titles. I
Hmm.
love the original, creepy and eerie and epic and those types of those magazines, Vampirilla, the Conans. So that's what really drew me into the world. And when I finally got on and realized I could, actually own some of this stuff through Heritage, and then obviously, going to IX and finding more recent illustrators and fantasy artists, sci-fi, that really kind of hooked me. So that's how I started. Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. I mean, as a reader, you appreciate the art, and like you
Yeah.
said, you were drawn to worn magazines, those types of books. And I guess, if you didn't start buying art, movie posters, which are on a grander scale, than the comic books, they're
Yeah.
really powerful images and things. I mean, is that because how did you even get started in the poster side of things? Because I mean, to collect posters is one thing, but you wrote a book, you got
Yep.
into DNA tagging things for authentication, all that kind of stuff. That's not just a hobby, that's almost a profession, and trying to apply some business savvy to a collectible niche that probably needed it and might still need more of that sort of thing even these days.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny because I actually got into movie posters at San Diego Comic Con. I was there, what is that, probably 22 years ago, maybe even longer, or
Mm,
25 years ago, probably. I was there, back when it was more comic books than anything else, before Marvel kind of took over and all the other big propaganda. But that's where you went to buy comic books, and there was a couple of booths that had old movie posters, and I think I bought an original Rocky and original Scarface that I still have. I think I bought each one for like $10 each. And when I brought them home and I got on eBay and I looked on eBay and I'm like, wow, these are going for $50 each on eBay. And I'm like, okay, so then I started buying and selling. And then, came up more and more and more was that, people were creating bootlegs and creating repos and most of the public found it very difficult to tell the difference
hmm.
between those posters and so I got into it and said, well, how can we really tell? I mean the best people in the world could get fooled, and so I started with the DNA and analyzing the paper, and realizing that more um, the paper that's used nowadays, it ages different, and you can actually tell, when the paper was printed. So, and they used my process. We used it at Christie's. We used it at Heritage, and that's kind of how I got into it. So, it's funny because uh, you know the grading system for comic books, they encapsulate everything. And my process was actually better, but they hit the market, and they kind of became the norm.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I remember, going through profiles and histories, their offices maybe 15 years ago, and
Yeah,
maybe right before we started IBA, and your name came up. As far as I don't remember in what context, and but it was there. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did some authentication for them on some pretty big pieces. Uh,
mm,
yeah, because especially with the old horror movies, all of those Draculas and Werewolf and Frankenstein, and some of those posters. I mean, they're going for $1 million now. Back then they were going for $300,000-400,000, still a lot of money. And actually they had a huge scandal that hit, that these guys were actually taking and printing these posters, and they got sold at some pretty big auction houses. So yeah, the authentication became a big piece of it.
interesting. Yeah. Well, there's a lot more professionals, I think, at the auction houses today than there probably was 20 years ago. People who'd been in the business a long time who could authenticate. Seems like in movie posters, there's still, a few outlets that, have been out there for 30 years, still selling it with that e-movie poster. I can't remember the name of the guy that runs that, but still I'm on his mailing list. He's
Bruce Hershenson.
Bruce. That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and so it's interesting how hobbies and collectibles can evolve, and so
yeah,
seeing movie posters change, and certainly comics changed once they started slabbing them, and then it's just the evolution of comic art and illustration, auctions, and the evolution through Heritage and Comic Link and everybody else who's been marketing those areas really heavily. I mean,
yeah.
you've seen it, I'm sure, too. Having the push Heritages made into illustration in the last 3 or 4 years is, I think, it's definitely made an impact on pricing and raising awareness of creators on that side of the spectrum.
Well, yeah. Especially you have that Frazetta piece that just went for $13 million. So
Hmm.
it the one of a kind, and that's really what drew me into the illustration side of it and collecting original art. Was these are one of a kind pieces, and that's really what kind of drew me into movie posters. Also, when I first started, was some of the movie posters that are out there. There's only one or two examples known to exist. So and it's a finite piece. I mean, I can't tell you, especially, I mean, the guests will see some of the art that I have, the amount of people that have emailed me on CAF wanting to buy my original art, that I have, because they're titles from, again, those creepy and eerie and those worn magazines, and that's what people grew up with. So,
Hmm.
it's, they're not gonna, nobody's making more of them. So,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when I first started collecting, I didn't really think about the one of a kind nature. It was just the idea of how special it was to own art, right? Art that you didn't
yeah,
create yourself. Just the idea of owning something that somebody else worked on, and then realizing, when you get to own something that was published,
yeah,
as well, whether it's a cover or an interior page to a comic book, that just owning art by itself is something cool and unique, and it just takes you totally out of the pulp culture collectible fun of like collecting comics or statues or anything like that. There's just something special about owning a piece of creative work that just and I think I evolved from there, then realizing that yeah, it's one of a kind and I'm the only one with it. kind of
yeah.
kind of a feeling. What
And
was I mean, when do you recall like what your first piece of art was that you picked up?
oh wow, that's a good question. What was my first piece of art that I picked up? Um, yeah, I don't even remember, to be honest. That's an interesting question. Yeah, it's been a long time. So, I think I probably bought, at Heritage, a Ken Kelly piece. Actually, I think it was the one you'll see here. It was the Gorilla, illustrated piece.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was my first piece that I bought.
Was
Yeah,
that like pen and ink or is that a pencil? I don't have it in front
it
of
was an
me. Okay.
ink. Yeah, yeah. It was I think a gorilla fighting a couple lions.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that was my first piece, and then it quickly escalated from there.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, no, that's I think I think all of us are like that. We end up after you get one, it's an addiction, and it's
It
hard to
is.
kind of pass up
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You always want to keep adding to it, and the guys all when we collect comic art, you hate to have an Itoya with only 2 or 3 pages full, in it, and you have like 30 pages empty. You have a desire to kind of start filling it up one way or another.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I'm big with putting the pieces on the wall. So, I, at my other house that we just moved from, my whole office is every piece of wall space was covered with art. And, but the thing is, with movie posters, I had it set up so that I'd have like 10 posters behind each one so I could continually rotate them out. And it
mhm.
also helped keep them safe and preserved. But with art, I can't do that. So I literally had just tons of wall space, every little speck covered
So
with
is that
art.
why when I asked you for a photograph of yourself, you couldn't do it in front of art because it's all at the other house right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. Well, actually, they're all off the wall now because we're selling that house. So they're all literally, packaged up and boxed up. And I'm like, oh, do I really want to take these apart for a picture?
Right.
So,
I get it. Now I know I didn't hear from you when I when
yeah,
I asked. That's
yeah,
because typically we have a mugshot of the collector in front of a piece of art or something holding it, and, yeah, we didn't get that. I was even looking through, photographs from my ex that I had, and I had a couple of you behind the table, but I'm like, "Nah, that's not gonna work."
right, right.
So, I guess we might as well just kind of go into. I might as well talk a little bit about Infected by Art because that's something you and I've been working on for. I mean, we're on book 14 now, so I've been a part of it for 12 books. But
Yeah.
what was the inspiration behind starting that even as a project? Because I don't even know if you and I really ever talked about that.
Yeah, well, it really kind of started as a venture because I was I loved Spectrum, but I was also very frustrated with the process of how to submit your art. I don't know if you even tried to submit art ever to Spectrum, but it was very cumbersome. You had to, take a picture. It had to be a certain size. You had to send in paperwork. You couldn't email it. You actually had to send a paper picture of it with the size. It was just this very, very cumbersome way of entering art. And then also, again, I loved Spectrum, but I was also very frustrated with the size of the images. Sometimes there'd be 5, 6 images on one page, and I'm like, I want to see this bigger. I want to actually, you know, get a really good feel of what went into this piece. The detail, the colors, and so it was really kind of out of frustration. I'm like, this is something that we can do online. I can make the streamline process much easier, just submitting your art with a click of a button, submitting an entry fee with a click of a button. At that point, I'd already, I knew a lot of the old time illustrators, obviously from collecting, and so I knew, the Basil Gogos, I knew Ken Kelly, I knew Arthur Sudam, and Chris Achilleos, and all of those guys. So I'd been contacting those guys over the years, trying to find art and communicating with them. So I asked a lot of them to be the original jury panel members.
Mhm.
Basil came out. I don't know if any of you know Basil Gogos or remember his art from Famous Monsters. He did the famous Frankenstein and Dracula covers,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, he came out actually he was a jury panel member, and he came out after his stroke with his wife Linda. Came out to California along with all the other jury panel members, and I got to meet him up in person, and the lines for these people to sign autographs and sign pieces of art. It was amazing. Ken Kelly, I got to meet him, and it was funny because I brought a couple of the pieces that I bought at auction, and he's was just amazed that I had those, and it was so funny because he actually took one of the ones, the one with the robots that we'll see here in a minute, and he actually kissed it. I was like, "You're kissing my oil painting. What are you doing?"
Well, he
But
hadn't seen it in so long, it was
yeah,
very
yeah,
sentimental
exactly.
for him.
He loved it, but he was such a good guy, and we had a big Q&A session afterwards, and he got up and told stories about him and Frazetta, and working together, and yeah, it was just really cool. He was just such an amazing guy, and all of them were. They were. That was one of the things that I've loved about doing Infected by Art is meeting the jury panel members, because they don't get paid to do it. They literally give back to the artists. It's very time consuming to go through these thousands of images, not just once, but two, three, four, five, however many times we ask them to go through it, and they donate their time. And I think it's such an amazing thing that they give back. They've made it in their careers, and just the passion that they all have, and passion for creating, and then the people that love their art. It's such an amazing thing to see.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. I came on board with the second issue, right? So
Yeah,
after you'd done the first one and
yeah,
whatnot, and then we've rebuilt the website
yeah,
and kind of automated a lot of that. So yeah, no, it's been fun, and
yeah,
it kind of brought us closer to working with Pat and Jeannie over at IX.
yeah.
Every year we actually publish two different covers, one for the standard edition and one that we sell and give away to the artists that exhibit at IX. Just kind of to just spread the joy, and and also just remind everybody that this is something that's valuable to the community. And Spectrum isn't published anymore, at least right now,
Yeah.
uh, and Arnie and Kathy, kudos to them for even starting it, to try to recognize the talent that was out there. I mean, there for the longest time there weren't a lot of book publishers that were really focused on illustration. You had a few of the Frazetta books that were out there, but and Ken Kelly's name might, you'd hear a little bit, Boris's name you'd hear,
Yep.
uh, but there just wasn't a lot of promotion of that side of things. I mean, and certainly in the last 20 years, I think we've seen a lot more attention and focus on that area, which is great. I mean, I love it. And we've got we actually started an illustration kind of expo within OAX last year, and it worked out great. We had Dan Dos Santos there, Julie Bell set up. She was set up next to Dave Palumbo, so it was like, she was so happy because she's never been in an exhibition space with her son with their art
Oh,
together, right?
that's so
Uh,
great.
yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see, and I think that having those kind of opportunities are neat, right? And Julie Bell's along with Boris are doing a talk, I think, on Sunday with the LucasArts Museum over at New York Comic Con. They're having a special large panel. They did that. Guillermo del Toro and George Lucas did the panel at San Diego Comic Con, and they did
Okay.
another one recently. But they're going to be doing one at New York Comic Con this weekend. So all this stuff is great, right? I mean, not only so you have like Spectrum, then you have Infected by Art, you have IX Arts going on, and now the LucasArts Museum is coming in, and they're going to be doing they're just going to be drawing more and more attention on the umbrella of the narrative arts, which includes everything from illustration to comic book art to editorial cartoons, comic strips, animation. Even I think they'll probably encompass digital artwork too, as it relates to filmmaking and non-traditional forms of making art. So
No,
it's we're
100.
at a really cool moment in history, I think, where there's a lot of attention on the arts that we love in a way that's never been there before. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine
Well,
where things
I
will
think
get in
that's
10 years.
yeah. I think it's showing even more because there's so many more books that come out about like the making of a film, and then the sketchbooks that come out, and it shows that people are hungry for that. And just to get back to Star Wars, I mean, how many magazines that they put out with the drawings and the sketches of of the different vehicles. And I mean, those things have always sold well, and they continue to sell well. I mean, those, you get on eBay, and again, those original ones, they sell really, really well. They're, the prices do well. And I think there's a hunger for that. There's a hunger for people to look at how, things were processed and the creativity behind it. I think it's just so fascinating to hear, when an artist talks about a certain piece on, where they drew their inspiration from,
Hmm.
why they chose certain palettes or certain angles. I mean, it's an amazing thing. And, I go back to, when Chris Achilleos was talking at IX actually many years ago. He did a panel, and he was talking about the whole V section and how your eye is drawn to that. When he did the original movie poster for Heavy Metal, so it was just such an interesting perspective to hear that. And I mean, it's an iconic image. So
Oh, without question. I mean,
yeah,
Achilleus's work was, incredible. I mean,
yeah,
we've
yeah.
lost far too many artists in the last, 5
Yeah,
or 8 years. It's been rough. I mean,
it
like you,
is.
you already mentioned Basil and Ken Kelly. I mean, just you name it, Rowena.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. She was an early judge. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's and what's interesting is, the reason, I love that Frazetta is getting all this recognition, with
mhm,
his art. And I think it's just going to help the rest of the field, especially those artists from, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that kind of came up in that same age. I mean, you look at some of Basil's art now. I actually met the what is it, the curator of his estate,
mhm,
and some of his original art. They just sold a piece for $250,000. So it's, and I was actually surprised that it was that low. Because it's an iconic image.
right.
It was an original. I think it was the Frankenstein image that they sold. But yeah, I mean, again, it's, how long is it going to be in a collection before it ever shows up again? So,
Right.
I was very much to the point where, I see something I love. It's like, you're probably never going to get another chance to own it in your lifetime if you don't jump on it.
Right. I mean, I would think 250 for one of Basil's paintings is probably, that's got to be a record. I'm not looking at the market data we have
It is.
access to,
It
but
is a record. Yeah.
okay, good. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, but it's only because I don't know. At the end of the day, people that's what they think about, right? Are those covers? And I mean, it wasn't until recently, like, well, I forget, I can't remember what cover it was that sold on Heritage from one of those EC books that sold for 850,000. I think it was a Lee Elias cover, but horror, right? It's
Yeah.
finally that genre. It's a subgenre of everything else, right? And so it's not fantasy, it's not comic books. Horror is something totally different, and
Right.
uh, it's just gonna, it's 250,000 is a solid price. I'd be happy with that. But you're right, and the thing is, all you need is if that was especially if that was a private sale, you put something like that out on Heritage or someplace that's going to promote it much better. You could probably double that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, but yeah, no, that's all. I don't know. I'm just reminiscing a little bit, but yeah, that's cool. But at the end of the day, though, so getting to see the work, at the at IX is always fun. You get to see a lot of the artists there. A lot of those artists participate in the books that we do, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
we
mean,
just
I've gone there and bought, I've gone there and met artists and seen pieces and go, wow, that's a piece I got to have, and artists that I didn't know about and wouldn't have known about had I not gone there.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting. It's I love going there because obviously to chat with all the artists and so on, but it's just so inspiring. It's like I wish I had more money. I could buy more of it, but again, you have a finite resource and finite wall space, so it definitely makes it challenging. But
Did you buy
it's
a bigger house? I mean, I know you just moved, but do
yeah.
you have more room for art? That's
I wish. My wife is limiting me, unfortunately.
hmm. You don't
But
get every room in the house, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, especially because I still have movie posters up. So, I share. I have movie posters. I have fantasy, sci-fi, horror art, and then I have my antiques. So, it's definitely diverse.
yeah, it makes you almost wish you were only collecting comic books there, right? You just
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
box, you could have thousands of them, and it wouldn't take up as much space. Yeah, that is challenging. And for you, again, a lot of folks who collect painted work like you do, it's not like you can slide them in iToys, or you could have flat files or things like that. But if you're buying them, you want to be able to hang them on the wall.
yeah,
So
100%.
it has to be. You have to. It's a give and take at the end of the day. If you're going to bring in a piece to your collection that's, even if it's 18 by 24, you got to figure out what you're going to remove from the wall or wherever to be able to put that piece in there. Because what's the point in owning a painting like that if you're not looking at it every day?
Yep,
And I think
100%.
maybe that's, you think about it, but that's maybe almost a hindrance in a weird way to collecting that, painted illustration artwork of that size, right? I think because it demands to be seen, it does, you know, we only have so much wall space, right, in our
Right.
homes where we can hang artwork. And uh yeah, I mean, I never really thought about that as being a negative. It's funny because I see a lot of like the Magic the Gathering artwork that's created these days. That those pieces aren't done very large.
Yeah,
A lot of times they're 9 by 12, 11 by 14. They
yeah,
look beautiful, and you think they could be larger, right? 18 by 24, even bigger, but they're
yeah,
not. They're painted smaller, and so that probably works to their advantage, because those pieces you're still going to want to hang them. You're going to want to display them. But even something at that size, you could actually have it on your like the bookshelf behind you. There could be a
yeah,
painting there from Magic the Gathering, which you wouldn't get. Same thing with, like, I bought a few pieces, TSR pieces from D&D at an early IX, and those are small too. I could put those, keep them in a mat, and put them on a little holder, and they could be sitting on the my back shelf. And so yeah.
right.
But
Yeah,
but
it's
a
it's
lot of
very,
your paintings that we're going to look at, they're large. They have to
yeah.
be they have to be hung up and on display.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, and that's it's funny because I'm actually really surprised by um, the size of, getting back to Frazetta. Most of his pieces are pretty darn small compared to a lot of more contemporary pieces, and it's really surprising. I don't know if anybody on here's, I'm sure quite a few people have been, but he's the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is incredibly small. People are always
Mhm.
shocked at how small it is. But you see these images in books, and you're like, wow. It's just, I think the presence of that piece is so powerful. You naturally assume that it's bigger, but yeah, and unfortunately, and sometimes fortunately, I'm drawn to bigger pieces. I don't have a lot of small pieces. Even the illustrated sketches that I have are all large. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, that's probably,
definitely a
the movie
hindrance.
poster collector in you can't, that's you're just drawn to the larger, more impactful images. I mean,
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, and
yeah,
and I think that's the cool thing about art collecting, is I think a lot of people kind of fall into tracks, right? As far as, like, what they like and what they like to display. And that's what makes art collecting fun. I mean, I'd love there's lots of art collectors whose homes I'd love to tour,
yeah,
especially those on the illustration side of things. I mean, can you imagine getting to see, like Jane Frank's place back when she was, a major, when her and her husband were major art collectors, or Arnie and Kathy's home? I mean, I can't even imagine what looking, it's like
yeah.
walking in a gallery, the size and the paintings that they have to have. I mean, uh, yeah, there's got to be some amazing homes out there that we need an architectural magazine for collecting, illustration art, that like fine collectors' homes, and with the paintings that hang in their,
That would actually be a really, really cool series.
it
There
really
you go,
would be.
Bill. That's something for you to start. Yeah,
I should be writing this down. It is a great,
yeah,
it really, yeah, would be wonderful. I mean, because, and that's the kind of stuff that, because you figure these people love it enough to kind of surround themselves with it, and bring it into their lives, and that becomes just a part of whom they are. And yeah, I mean, maybe not everybody likes to show off that, in that way, but those that would, I think art collectors would eat it up. On it doesn't matter what they collect. I mean, I want to see how other people display their artwork. We've had collectors do like short videos of how they hang their artwork in their homes and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's always interesting because we all kind of approach collecting and displaying our artwork, very differently based on just
Well,
your
and I
environment.
think and the stories, stories a lot of times on how you got it, tracking down certain people, and that was also a big rush for me, for a lot of the movie posters that I bought, and a lot of the art that I've bought is tracking down who has it, and trying to get it from them, trying to pry it from their hands, and making offers. And I mean, I sold, and I so regret it. I had a couple of Joe Jusko pieces from the Mars comics, comic books that he did, the Princess of Mars and so on, and I sold those, and traded, and I regretted doing it, since then. But it's funny how I got him in the first place. I mean, Joe actually reached out to me and wanted to trade for one of the pieces that I had. So I
Mhm.
traded them. He gave me those pieces, and then somebody else reached out to me years later and wanted them, and offered me a ridiculous price and a trade, and I did it. So those stories are always fun.
Did Joe find you through CAF? I mean, is that because Joe's been on CAF for years, but
Yeah, I don't remember how. I think he did actually.
okay.
Now that you bring it up, I think he did because I displayed it on there. It was a San Julian piece, funny enough, and he wanted it, and yeah, he wanted to trade me a couple of his covers that he had done. So
That's not a bad trade for him,
yeah,
trading pieces that, that he's worked on, a little blood, sweat, and tears, but yeah, picking up a San Julian piece that he would, maybe was always on his wish list,
on his
Grail.
bucket list, yeah, for sure.
It's a win for both of you because, yeah, you don't see too many of Joe's paintings, on the market that aren't related to, card art, for instance. I mean, he's done a lot of Marble Masterworks stuff that's on CAF, but yeah, I mean, he recently did the Edgar Rice Burroughs Tarzan sets.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think, I don't know, as far as I know, he's holding on to those. I don't know how he chooses which pieces to sell and which ones to keep. I think the comic art pieces are more easy for him to sell, but uh he just needs to find, the buyers for his like Tarzan work or anything, in that vein is definitely out there. He's
yeah,
never, as far as I know, he's actually never gone to IX, even though he lives in Pennsylvania as well. I think he's had an open invitation from Pat and Jeannie to just even come by. Okay, we give you a pro badge. We love you to exhibit.
yeah,
But I think he's like, I think he's in Western PA or Central, and everything in PA is far away, so
yeah,
it doesn't matter where you're at. It's a long
yeah,
drive.
yeah.
Um, but speaking of Rosetta, I actually, he just emailed with uh the grandson, Frankie Jr.,
Okay,
because he runs the Frazetta Art Museum, and since Kezra and I are going to, and Tatiana are all going to be at IX, and we're going in early. We're going on Tuesday before the show. Um, be, I won't say why. We're going to take some photos and videos of that. But Wednesday the show opens in the evening, and so I reached out to the Rosetta Art Museum just to see if they would open up, if we would come by, and they said, if you can make it, we'll find a way to be able to have the place open for you. So I've always wanted to go.
yeah,
It's just it's in Eastern PA, probably about an hour from New York City, but it's even 2 hours from Reading
right,
where it's
right.
at.
Yeah.
So have you ever
They,
been?
I have not been to that one, but the funny thing is, I grew up in Florida, and he's got the other museum down in Boca Grande,
Yep.
and it was literally 20 minutes from me. So I made it out there quite a few times.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet.
yeah, and went to the museum. But the funny thing was, is Frazetta was never there. Like both times I went, and I think I was 17 or 18 years old at the time. Um, and obviously had no money whatsoever to even buy a print at that time. But just went around and marveled at the museum. But I wanted to meet him, and never got the chance. Yeah, he was gone both times.
Hmm.
But Yeah.
I did go there once. They did an
Okay.
opening. Yeah. Ironically, I got to see one Frazetta there because it was for like a George Pratt and James Martin exhibit of their work. So the whole first floor of the museum there was both of their work. But but I think, was it Sarah that brought it down? I can't remember who brought down one of these tall white, or maybe like giant troll painting that
Okay.
we got to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it got whisked away to the back to the second floor under lock and key.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool though, and like you said, the idea that that even existed down there for a while, and it's still flourishing under the Frazetta Girls kind of moniker and everything is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that promotes. I look at anything that promotes the narrative arts as a whole, whether it's comic book artwork or illustration, is good. The more that's out there, the better for all
100%.
of us. I mean, I love seeing, like you said, the heritage auctions doing really well with the Frazetta pieces and everything. I think anytime these pieces get mentioned in the media, the better. That they get
Oh
talked
yeah,
about.
it's better for everybody,
Mm.
and that's one of the things. Again, getting back to affected by art is just people, artists as a whole, to me, and everything that I've seen are always just so gracious, and helping one another and being there and you know supportive. It's just an amazing thing to see, and that's it needs to be more. There needs to be more art in schools, and and again, people are so freaking creative. I've been going to quite a few of the horror con shows out here
Mhm.
in Arizona where I live now, and it's just amazing to see so how talented people are. Just with knitting and knitting horror, monsters with
Well,
yarn and stuff like that. It's cool. It's cool to
right.
see.
Well, we have that one woman who submits essentially quilts to Infected by Art
Yeah,
people. It's I don't know how she does it, but
yeah,
they're pretty damn amazing. And
right.
yeah, it doesn't have to be all painted artwork or traditionally drawn pieces for it to classify. I think did we
Yeah,
put them in the
like
sculpture category? I can't even remember when they've gotten in, but
yeah,
uh,
or
it's all
even like Kubler. It's like seeing his pieces in person at IX and these giant, abominations of humanity, these creatures that he creates. And it's like I always take pictures, and I'm telling my wife, I really want this. Can I bring it out? And she's like, you
yeah.
come home with that, and there'll be divorce papers.
Well, remember
Well,
that was when Pat and Jeannie commissioned Kubler to do a piece, and he did that giant serpent, Medusa woman, whatever. Remember that?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't know where they put that, right?
yeah,
But it's got to be in their house. I
yeah.
mean, you've got a permanent Halloween decoration that you can leave in the window.
Year round. Yeah, the best one ever. Yeah,
Yeah,
be
exactly.
amazing.
But I'm while we're talking a little bit, I've had this window open. I can just kind of tab through some photographs
Okay.
from IX to give people an idea of that show in particular because it is amazing, and Pat and Jeannie have done a great job with it. It's hosted at the Goggle Works, which used to be an old giant factory. So the setting is very unique, but you literally get two shows for the price of one because they have a main show that's at that facility that runs from what is it, from Wednesday through Sunday, but then back at the host hotel they do another showcase show there that runs for 4 hours on Friday and Saturday evening. So you literally get 150 world class artists at the main show, and then you still get another 130 artists at the other show, with half of which deserved to be setting up at the main show, but couldn't
Yeah.
get juried in because it's a show that that is juried as well. And but guys like Kubler have been in the showcase, which is, I mean, he always should be in the main show if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can just show this off. But an artist named Dave Seeley, he regularly does and this is his stuff. He does like a recap after every IX, and he posts like 500 photographs from the show, and it's just it's just pretty amazing. But again, it's in this like I say, it's an old warehouse building, so it's just filled with, with open piping, and they on the first floor, all these pro panels are basically hanging from systems that they use probably to move around heavy material in the in the old warehouse, but they're there, and they use them for moving that stuff, moving the art and hanging the art. But yeah, it's just Dave
It,
likes. There we go.
yeah, one of the things that I love about the show is, getting in and chatting with the artists, and they're just so eager and welcoming to chat about their art and different pieces. And again, it's such an interesting thing to sit there and discuss. And they, it's not like anybody's in a hurry there. You can sit there and chat with them for 20 minutes, and they're happy to do it. And it's really a neat thing. And then what's also cool is they have prints of all this stuff. So if you can't afford an original piece, they most of them do have prints. And then again, the show in the hotel, again, it's just very diverse. You have people with sculptures, you have people with pins and blankets, and all sorts of different art, on their tables that you can purchase. So yeah, it's just very diverse.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, Dave Palumbo, who exhibited at OAX last year. Yeah, he'll typically have a wall of paintings that might be a little pricey, but then he'll have like a couple of sets of prelims, painted like monotone pieces that are available that are only a couple $100. So you just never know what you're going to find when you go to the show. A lot of the work is done more, I don't want to say for fun, but say maybe a third of it was published one way or another, but a lot of it is done just as personal pieces for the artists, which is cool because IX, the way they handle it. And this Mr. Stewicki, he's a judge, a juror for us in the current IVA book, but um, what they do is they actually jury the people in 11 months before the show, because the artists then spend that time prepping for it. A lot of the paintings that they bring are ones that they did expressly for that exhibition, which is kind of cool. I mean, the artists take it very seriously if they get juried into the main show. They want to show their best work. um, Not that there's a massive amount of art directors that are out there looking for, for work, but a lot of those directors are here, like uh, the what I'm trying to say. So they will
Yeah,
always do their do their best work, bring their best work. And then uh Patrick and Jeannie always commissioning artists in advance of the show. They would always have like uh, between 2 to 5 major commissions that they would ask artists to do, and typically they wouldn't even tell them what they wanted. They would just say, we have $5,000 to pay you, or whatever the heck it would be. Paint me something that is something that you wouldn't normally get to do in your professional career. And
yeah,
that's when you get like that painting that Brahm did of the woman with the antlers on the horse, that was like a 4 by 5 foot painting.
right.
You get stuff like that, and it's just cool to see a show that allowed artists to really have the freedom to create things that they might not ever do in their personal time.
Yeah, 100%. And some of those, I mean, some of those images, that we've had on the covers of those books are just
Mhm.
phenomenal. I mean, it's, I sit there and go, God, I want to buy that. And it's, I'm never going to get it because it's in the Wilshire collection.
Yeah, yeah, there's Donato, our
Yeah,
pal. Yeah,
yeah,
Donato's awesome.
yeah,
Falkenstern, there are more Donato paintings. Yeah, he's amazing.
yeah. That piece is huge, by the way. That piece, I think, was 6 foot by 6 foot or something crazy like that. It's enormous.
Yeah, I mean, that little Conti piece on the floor leaning up against it is probably almost an 11 by 17. So yeah, it gives you
Yeah,
an idea of the scale. And fortunately, Donato lives probably about an hour and a half or so from there, so he's able to get a lot of the big pieces there. But again, a lot of these artists that they'll do anything to get their pieces there, because this is the show for them, for them to kind of show off to their peers. Yeah, the Balrog. There you go, Stingray. It's amazing. Donato usually does like one of these large scale paintings a year, but you can see right here he's brought smaller pieces, that are maybe anywhere between like 150 or $200, and it looks like he's probably even brought in some small sketch card related things.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He always has sketches there, which is great.
but again, the whole show, it's literally 4 floors of just looking at uh that, looking at art, and it ends up, you still end up missing stuff going to there, even though, like, we're usually there between 3 and 5 days, you and I, based on setting
Yeah,
up and working the IBA table. But yeah, you can never see it all. And then Sealy actually loaded up a set of things for back at the hotel, so I might as well just show that for everybody too. The uh back at it's this isn't it, no longer the goggle works, it's your more traditional
yeah,
there's a skull for everybody,
yeah.
but they set up right at
Yeah, that
the
was actually
hotel.
one of the pieces that I wanted. The one on the right with the guy with the skull with the fangs. That one right there. You got your. That was one of the pieces I wanted to bring home. My wife's like, "No way."
Did you show it to her and she said absolutely not?
Yeah, yeah, that's it right
Yeah, I
there.
would get Maureen hates skulls, so that's the running joke here, that I'm not allowed to hang a piece of art that has a skull in it.
Yeah,
And of
it,
course,
it was great.
IX is always around Halloween too, so they tend to
Yeah,
do something goofy on the first night of the showcase. So and
yeah,
they've got bars, so it's a fun, it's a very fun show. And again, literally, you can see the size of this room. It's probably a 30,000 square foot space, of little, probably about the same size as the main room that we have at OAX. Maybe it's a little smaller, but bottom line is again, you pack in 120 artists into this space too, and uh it's just kind of crazy. It's art overload. But hey, wait, there's
yeah,
a Cyclops right there on the table. Everybody knows I love Cyclops. There you go. Look, that's not too shabby. I didn't see
yeah.
that.
That's funny.
Anyway, as you can see, that's so we're gonna have a great time when we go there. I mean, Todd, we haven't talked since we were talking about that. Are you gonna be able to be there for the weekend?
Uh, I guess I have to be.
I
Not that you have
hope
to
so.
twist my arm, but
I'm sorry, man. If we weren't going in there on Tuesday, I might have tried to figure out. I might have tried doing like a Thursday through Sunday, but because of the that opportunity that we had on Tuesday, I couldn't. There's just no way. I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I can't be there for 6 days, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I love going. It's just, it's definitely a challenge coming from this coast over to there, but yeah, it's definitely worth going. I mean, and plus, uh, every time I go in, I'm spending way too much money. So I was hoping to avoid that this year, but
Right, right, right. So when do you get in? Have you made your flight yet?
yeah, Thursday. Yeah, I get in
Do you,
at like
oh,
6,
shoot.
Thursday 6. Yeah.
Did you already book a hotel yet?
No, I haven't booked a hotel.
I probably have a room. I did an Airbnb, and now I'm leaving on Saturday, but
Okay.
I think we could probably work it out. I don't. I'm sure Kazra won't care. I think we have a 5 bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Uh, play.
Yeah.
I'll double check the specs on it, but it
Yeah.
was like the closest thing to the Goggle Works, and it had. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it has extra room, so I'll let you know.
Okay. As long
Save
as,
a few dollars at least for art.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it always helps. And, as long as I don't wake up and, it's like, where's your hand between two pillows? Those
Right.
hurts.
No, 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 no. That's not good. Yeah. I'll make sure there's extra rooms, because
I
I
get a
remember
story. Okay.
I
All right.
did.
Perfect.
I looked at like 5 different Airbnbs and ended up picking the one that was. It's almost like within walking distance of GoggleWorks. So
Oh, very cool.
yeah, it worked out really. I was a little surprised, and it's
Okay.
much cheaper than staying at whatever Days Inn or Ramada we end up getting stuck at.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. No, that sounds awesome.
Kezra's watching right now. He said there's a room with a bunk bed for Bill and Todd.
I get the top.
Hey, I don't care as long as I can never. That's fine. All right, well, but I'll let you know tomorrow, because I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure we got the 5 bedroom one though.
Okay.
Uh, let's see here. So, all right, well, that's cool. We'll be able to go out to dinner at least while we're there, and I
Yeah.
know that who did I email with? Ingrid. Uh, Ingrid's, comes to OAX. I know you've met her if you're not familiar with her, but she's Nielsen. She's always she buys a lot of art there at OAX. She picks up a lot of pieces, and um, apparently there's some get together going on. So I will
Okay.
share the information. Be
Okay.
fun.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what else we got going on. Well, we might as well look at some artwork. We've been
Yeah.
talking for almost an
Sure. Yeah.
hour
We've been
now, and
yapping here for almost an hour.
we
Who
haven't
wants
looked
to
at
see
one
some
piece
art?
of art from your collection. I know there's going to be a lot of San Julian, obviously, because I know he's one of your favorites.
Yep.
Um, Let me go ahead and change screens here so I can show some stuff off, and then I'll even do I have a link? I don't know if I have your gallery open. Oh, I do. I can throw a link in the chat to your CAF gallery. It is in the show description, but for those people watching that want to head over there and see what you've posted in your CAF, they can do that
Yeah.
too.
You can see the couple of the Joe Jusko pieces that I let go that I still
that are,
regret to this day.
that are gone. And so I
Yeah.
tried to group these. Probably didn't do a good job. I put the San Julians in the middle so we can look at
Okay.
different stuff. Uh,
Yeah. I
but
see Enric.
yep.
Yeah. Enric. Yeah. I've been wanting to buy that original, the oil piece for this, but I found this piece on Heritage and picked up the sketch. Yeah, so I was very happy with it. Love his art. Again, very famous artist that is iconic. And still does an amazing job. Still painting.
I know. I know. It's I mean, at this rate, it's like it's just amazing to see that, still got the same skills, as he had. I mean, I think I've never owned anything by Enric, but again, it's cool when you're owning something from a legend like he is. It's just amazing to have anything like that, in your
Yeah,
personal collection. And I'm
yeah.
sure there's certainly not enough of his work on CAF. I haven't done a search on
Oh man,
him in a
well, it's
while.
funny because it's actually under two different searches. It's under
Right.
EN ENRIC, and then it's under ENRICH. So it's Enric and then Enric Torres Pratt. So it's under two different searches. So yeah, it's
You have to work for it. Well, it's
yeah,
surprising. Yeah, there's at least 350 pieces.
yeah.
That's not terrible, I guess.
No, yeah, it's
Not too
amazing.
bad.
It's I love looking at his art.
Yeah, no, I've always been a fan as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the other cool things is a lot of the art that you're going to see on here. I actually have the sketches for them too,
Hmm.
which I probably should have included so you could see how it went from the sketch to. That would have been cool. I didn't think of that. I should have sent you some of those images to see how sometimes it changed dramatically to how it didn't change at all. This
Hmm.
was actually Philip
Bur
Bourbon.
yeah, Bourbon or Berberon. I forget it.
Yeah,
He was at IX when they were in the museum, right?
yeah,
I think that was the last time I saw him there
yeah. But
with
this was
Millie
the back.
Boj.
This was the back cover of Infected by Art #1. So
Yeah,
yeah, so he did this, and I loved it. I thought I had it up on my wall as a prime spot right by my desk. I loved it. It's just such an amazing piece. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's always cool to own stuff from a book you published, right?
Yeah,
At the
yeah.
end of the day.
That's the lucky part.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a part of the fun, being involved, at these kind of levels, right? When you're publishing a book, or I own like the lanyard artwork from the first OAX. It's just
Oh, there
cool
you
to
go.
kind of own something that you played a part in one way or another, that's significant, right? I mean,
Yeah,
uh no, yeah, there's benefits and fun things, and just things that you look at and you'll always have great memories about. But I've always liked Philip's work, and I regret the fact that he and Milivoj haven't been back to IX since that show at the gallery,
yeah,
at the museum, and that was like, when was that? That was probably like 2017, maybe 26. It's been a while.
yeah. It's been a
Um,
while. yeah,
love their stuff though.
yeah,
Patrick needs to figure out how to get them to come back to the States.
yeah. This was yeah, this picture. So this was in an early Epic Illustrated magazine from probably 1980, maybe 81.
Mhm.
So this is Richard Hescox. And I saw this picture in that Epic magazine when I was, I don't know, what was I 12 at the time, maybe 13, something like that. But yeah, I saw this image and I was like, it just captivated me, absolutely captivated me. And it came up for auction at Heritage, and I had to have it and bought it. So yeah, just one of my favorite pieces.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, just being the, the monotone, approach, and, uh, it's kinda haunting. You know,
It is. It's
clearly
super.
he's going down because he's
Yeah.
weighted one way or another, but no, man,
Well,
it's awesome, and I think that one of the cool things about some of the pieces in your collection are, they are published pieces, and they're pieces that we recognize, like you said. I know there's gonna be a few covers that we're gonna see, and
yeah,
Hescox's work, I've always, I think he's a great illustrator. His compositions are always top notch, and I mean, and again, this is a piece from, I think it was dated 1980 for sure, so,
yeah,
uh very early in his career. And again, it's like something like this pops up, and not everybody's going to recognize it for what it is, right? I mean,
yeah,
even if Heritage, identifies it right, not many. I don't remember this image on a copy of Epic. I was buying that book. I mean, I must have seen it, but I don't remember it.
right, right. Yeah, and the thing, as a kid seeing this image, it just made me sit there and wonder, is like, how did this knight end up in the ocean? Did he fall off a ship? Was it, why is he in the water? It's just made me think, and it was just like you said, it's the tone and the colors of it. It's an interesting choice, not to bring that color in, and to do it very muted. I just thought it was just an impressive piece, and it was funny because I got to talk to Richard at IX, and we talked about this piece, and I asked him, I'm like, why did you paint this in these colors? And it was funny because I thought he was going to come up with this great explanation. He's like, I can't even remember why I did it in those colors. And so I
I
was
look
like,
at it now, and I would do it totally
whoa,
different.
my mind was kind of blown. But yeah, definitely
Yeah, because
cool.
Richard's kind of his paintings are very colorful at the end of the
So
day.
colorful. Yeah, I mean, if you
At
look
least
at him,
this,
all his stuff on CAF is just like so vibrant. Yeah,
right.
yeah. So it's just such a departure.
Well, that's
Yeah,
funny, but
yeah,
again, cool, because so much of the artwork, out there, like this this is Grant Cooley, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, like stuff from Grant, it's always going to be, well, he has a modern feel and vibe to his stuff, but his stuff is always like super vibrant and colorful and just pops off the table or the wall when he has stuff. And I think he's exhibiting at IX. Uh,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
He's been there the last few years, and I just thought this was an amazing image. And he's got this cool process. I don't know if you can kind of zoom in a little bit, but he takes this and he kind of pours the art in there. He actually has a whole process you can kind of see. Um, he's got some YouTube videos, but he pours the paint on and lets it dry, and then he paints kind of over it. It's really an amazing process. But yeah, I just thought this was such a cool image, and it's got Frankenstein in the background and the horde following him, and and it's like she's thinking about her lost love. I think it even says on one of her tattoos, is it oh yeah, love
Love
never
never
dies.
dies.
Yeah, love never dies. Yeah,
Yes, and Grant was, when we were looking at those photographs from, Mr. Seeley, he was the guy with the purple face,
yeah,
up in that
yeah.
one.
He
So
always dresses
Grant's,
up. He always got some funny
he's
outfit.
yes, he's kind of the life of the party, and his artwork is really awesome. And
Yeah,
and again, that's why IX is for the creators and the people who've been regulars there for a long time, it is like a, hangout, get together, fun, goof off with your friends sort of moment, because you don't get to do that at a lot of different shows, but that's what IX feels a lot like, right? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
social and
Very laid
uh,
back. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. I've always enjoyed his stuff.
Yep.
Bless you.
There's another Enric.
Another Enric, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually, the cool thing so he was an early judge. I think he the judge for, I can't remember if he was a judge for one or two. I think he was judge for volume number two. And
he was, yeah, the first year I did it. Yep.
yeah, yeah. And so I actually sketched this out on what I wanted them to do as far as, the imagery and the idea behind it. And he went ahead and painted this for me off of an image that I had drawn. So yeah, it was kind of cool to kind of see the vision that I had come to fruition.
Did you talk to him about color, or did you just gave him a pencil drawing and said go to town?
No, no, absolutely. He had done another Vampirella kind of in this greenish tone, and I just thought it was so cool, to have that as kind of like the background image and make her pop even more.
Hmm.
And then he did a couple other Vampirellas with these kind of demon apes, and I just thought it was so cool. So I had to mix all those different elements in, and what it was, I can't remember. What was the title of this was um, the loves that I had, or something like that. But so she's on all of her past loves. There's all those skulls.
Loves I've Lost. I'm looking at your calf
Yeah, there we
right
go.
now.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So again, just one of my heroes growing up. Not only did I get to meet, but then I got to have him do a painting for me. So it was very cool.
no, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Now this is my Eric Val. Is that
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. So this was an early. I don't remember if it was a creepy or eerie, but again, one of those early Warren covers. And it was just, growing up as a 12-year-old kid, you see this and you're like,
you don't need to say
but
anything more,
yeah, yeah,
Remember,
but
you're on the top bunk. Just remember.
yeah, I mean, it's got the two best things in the world, a
Right,
half-naked
dinosaurs
woman and a
and half
dinosaur.
naked women. I mean, this leads right into 80s movie poster, things, Todd. I mean, the male barbarian, and that's all this thing is missing, is a guy with a big sword.
Yeah,
And we'd
100%.
be
Yeah, yeah, the original Conan stuff. It's all,
right.
they
Yeah,
definitely, one leads to the other.
so true. And again, is this like an auction house pickup for you?
Yeah, I bought this at Heritage. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, again, it's one of those things you see and you're like, God, I have that. I still have the original copy that I bought as a kid, when I was,
Really?
yeah, when I was, 13, 14 years old. Yeah,
See,
yeah,
that's awesome. I bet, when you were first starting to buy these, there just wasn't a high interest in a lot of it. Not like it is today.
right. Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Marcus says the tail is the substitute for the sword. Okay, we can go with that. Oh man. All right. So I think we're gonna get into some San Julian stuff, who I know you've collected the most of. At least maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I know that at least today you have more San Julians in your collection probably than anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's, again, it's funny because, growing up and seeing his Vampirella covers and his Conan covers, and seeing all these stuff on, Creepy and Eerie, and things we talked about, and then finding out that I actually could contact him and buy pieces from him, and then actually have him do some commissions. So this was actually a commission piece that he did for me. off of a sketch that I drew, and kind of came up with the whole idea of what I wanted it to look like, and then he, just took it to a whole nother level with the colors and the image, the dragon, and it's such an amazing piece. And this piece is huge. This is, I think, it's like 40 by 35 or something like that. It's massive. 45 by 35 inches, something like that. It's probably listed on CAF. I think I have the size in there, but it's a massive piece.
Now, when you're commissioning him on, on these paintings, is he shipping them to you on stretcher bars already, or
No, he said ships them rolled.
Oh, he does. Okay,
Yeah,
that's sort of what I was thinking he was going to do, right? But they are
yeah,
on canvas, right?
yeah.
Or are
They're
they on
all on
paper?
canvas, so
Okay.
it's very easy to ship it rolled. It's funny because all the pieces that I bought from them, only one piece ever showed up damaged, and
Hmm.
it's funny enough, it's the King Kong, which we'll see here in a minute. And I sent it back to him, and he was able to repaint the damaged area and send it back to me, and you could never tell.
Nothing wrong with that. He can do his own art restoration, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
great.
no questions asked, and yeah, he's such an amazing guy. It's funny because I met him. He came out for, I think it was the second year, and got to meet him and chat with him, and he speaks Spanish and I speak English, and we were still able to communicate and had a great dinner, and again, you get to meet these heroes and these icons that you grew up with. Is nothing better. This again is a early creepy or eerie cover. I don't remember which, but again, it's just one of those pictures that. And this is smaller. This is only like 16 by 18. But again, it's just you sit there and you go, you want to know so much about why he came up with it. What's the story behind it. But yeah, I just love it. Definitely one of his smaller pieces that I own.
Yeah, it says Erie issue 63.
Okay, there you go. He's
Yeah,
63. Yeah.
they got a lot of views on that one. 7,500 views.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing image.
Yeah, again, you just don't see this kind of stuff, out there on the market too often. They just
Yeah.
don't. Wow.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
definitely impressive. And to see them, to see him close up and the way he paints, and Enric too, they're both that Spanish, um, type of artist, where they layer. It's everything is very layered, so it gives you a very thick, vibrant color to it. Even though a lot of the image is muted, but it's
mhm.
just the way they paint, the way they layer it, it just makes it stand out. I think it's one of the most impressive things about some of those Spanish artists.
Nope, I totally agree. And and that's the Spanish illustration, artists. There's the guys and gals who collect them. That's their love. It's like the Filipino artists of the comic book artists of the 70s. There's whole like groups of collectors that kind of gravitate to those schools of artists effectively, right? And again, it's back to taste because art's all subjective, right? I mean, when you find
Absolutely.
that you really love, I mean, you kind of just kind of stick in a groove, and there's nothing wrong with that. You evolve and everything, but I think at the same time it's always cool to see because I love them too. I love their choice of color, San Julian and Enric and Boris. I mean, I always think that they have just really kind of like unique palettes that
Yeah.
carries through painting to painting to painting, and even Ken Kelly to a certain extent, but
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Frazetta, they were all, they all had that same type of mastery. Yeah, I mean, and you look at Julie Bell. Obviously she's worked with Boris all these years. She has that same, way of layering that paint to get the most out of it. It's just definitely I think it's more labor intensive, which is why it's not done as much.
Hmm.
But it definitely leads to a very impressive painting. Um, but yeah, this is an interesting one. This was again one of my ideas. I sent him a rough sketch, and San Julian ran with it and painted it. So it's funny because this has never made it out of the tube. I got it, and I've never been. I don't have enough room space, and I've never put it up. It's still sitting in the tube, which
So
is
you can't
embarrassing.
actually own too much, illustration artwork such that you
Yeah.
cannot even get it out of the tube to look
Yes.
at it. Well,
Yeah.
here I thought this was a follow-up from to the epic piece by Hescox. He's managed to shed his armor. He's going back to the surface, but no.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's well, but nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, I mean, it's yours. It's an idea that you gave him, and then they kind of ran with it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of being, a frustrated artist, and never kind of seeing my own dream come to fruition. I've got, ideas, and what's one of the things I've loved working with different artists is, I come up with an idea, I come up with a sketch, and then I give it to them, and they run with it. So, it's a way of seeing my own ideas come to fruition.
Yeah. Marcus asks if don't you have to flatten it out at some point? I mean, I would think on canvas
Yeah.
you can probably, depending on how heavy the paint is, at any time you could probably roll it back out and restretch it on canvas, and it won't, it probably wouldn't cause too much of a problem.
Yeah, yeah, not at all. Especially the way they paint. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of the things that I've been meaning to do it. Now that I've moved, I'm hoping to get it out and get it on the wall, and get it stretched, and get it up there now.
Yeah. Yeah, this is familiar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we've had this on the Infected by Art book. Um, this was one of the original hardcover copies that we did. So this was one
Mm.
of the 100 copies, and what's funny is this was one that San Julian did for me, and all I said was I want Conan fighting a white gorilla, and he came up with this. And the interesting thing was I didn't find this out until years later. Is that's actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's famous pose
Mm.
right there. He took Schwarzenegger and used his pose for this painting.
Yeah, now that I see that, I can't. I know, it's like exactly what image of Schwarzenegger from his early days of bodybuilding. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing painting. Just
they're all
the
sold out, right? We don't have any more. I would
sorry.
assume. Are we sold out of this cover by now? I mean, I know that there
Oh
weren't
yeah, yeah. That's been
that
sold.
one. I think that was like the first of the of those sets that sold, or maybe the Go-Go's.
Yeah, yeah. That what's amazing is I don't know if you've ever looked, but the early those 100 copies, the copy of what was it, Soydam? He had a Walking Dead cover, and then this cover by San Julian. Um, the who else was it? The Basil cover,
Mhm.
and then the was it Enric? No, who was the other cover? I'm blanking.
Uh,
But
right.
those literally go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars on eBay. It's
We
crazy. I
should have
mean,
held on to a few of them.
I have number one of each one.
Oh, do
Uh,
you? That's
yes,
good.
yeah, signed by each of the artists. But yeah, so I have number one. But yeah, I think one of the Basil covers, if they come up on eBay once in a while, and they're like $600-700, and they sell.
Wow. Was it
Yeah,
Ken Kelly? Ken Kelly?
was it?
I feel like it might have been Ken Kelly for some reason. I
Okay,
don't know. But either
I'm
way,
probably
that's
yeah, too many
well,
covers.
you create a collectible by making a limited edition like that. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
No giveaways tonight, Goo, in the chat. He's asking in the chat.
Yeah, this is another San Julian. Again, one of my crazy ideas I had, and wanted Conan fighting a dinosaur with Red Sonja there. So
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll tell everybody. I'll bring a couple of I'm Infected by Art 13 books home with me, and I'll do a giveaway or two after I get back from IX. So we'll do that on a CAF update, because you should see these books. You should buy them, but getting them in your hands to see them is it's definitely worth it, because like Todd mentioned earlier, one of the things that we try to do there is printing most of the artwork full size, in the book, which Spectrum got to the point where they were bringing in, they'd have a 300-page book, but they would jury in about 560 pieces, and so more than half of the art was, there were 3 pieces to a page sort of thing. It just got to a point where the artwork wasn't treated as important. And ours, I think we usually have like a 320 page count, and I think we usually have about 330, like 335 pieces juried in. So literally 80% of the book is, at
full
least
page.
minimum is full page, and
Yeah,
that's the way we just want to see it that way. You'll never have more than 2 pieces of art on a page, and uh,
and the artists appreciate it too. I think that one of the things that we've really strove to do with the book was represent the art in the best possible light. Get the colors correct. It's and that's a struggle. Because you definitely one of the worst things you want to have is you see a piece of art in a book and then you see it in real life and the colors are so different. So I think that's was mission accomplished, and
mhm.
this book is definitely a passion project for us both. I
Yeah, we're
love,
not making any money.
yeah, it's the amount of work that we put in. It's yeah, it's crazy. Shipping.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I
I'm
involve my
starting to
whole
get the shakes
family
just
shipping.
thinking about.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kickstarter and
but that's how most things work. A lot of things that you really enjoy working on don't
yeah,
end up being the things that that support your support your family and everything. But you enjoy doing them. I feel like I've been really fortunate just to have met a lot of the artists that we've gotten to work with too, and then going to IX and seeing them there, and just seeing that the fact that the community appreciates things like this. There aren't because most people go into these things wanting to make a lot of money at it. The projects don't last long, and we've
yeah,
we've kept at it just because it's right up our alley. It's what we love, and
100%.
yeah, and getting to give back to the artists, in any way is always a really good thing. And I mean, we're still selling. I mean, so we what was it, just yesterday? I think somebody came in and bought like 7 back issues. I mean, some people are still buying the books. They really, once they
Yeah,
find it, they appreciate it.
yeah. I mean, we're sold out of what books one through four, and we sold out just most recently. What's funny is we still have some old copies available, but and then we've sold out more recently of the more recent copies. So there's still an appetite for people buying books, which is great. I think we've done better in the last few years than we ever had
The
with
Donato cover, I was just looking at it, of volume 11. I mean, sometimes the cover does it all. It's back to the things that, attracted you to the books when you were younger. It's picking the right image for the cover does a
yeah,
lot, and that Donato cover was probably one of my favorites. I mean, just,
oh yeah,
you know,
amazing.
it,
Yeah, love that piece. Yep,
you know,
for sure. Yeah.
so
This is another San Julian.
was this
Again,
your idea too?
yeah, this was my idea also. Yeah, yeah, wanted centaurs and a Conan-like figure, and um, wanted a damsel in distress, and then he just took it and ran with it. And I mean, I think this is one of my favorite pieces, just because it's so unique. The colors are so vibrant. It's definitely a departure from a lot of the other colors that he works with. And this was 100% him. He he chose the yellows and the dark greens for the centaurs, and so again, it's just I just think it just pops, and to see this piece in person, and again, it's huge. I think it's 24 by 36, something like
Mhm.
that. So it's an enormous piece, but yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was gonna say the yellow is what makes it. It's just it's striking. It's almost golden, and it's such a traditional approach to painting clouds, and you know what I mean. It's just something that you would think that you would see painted in the 1800s in his approach, and I think that that's kind of the sensibility that they bring. Yeah, that certainly that he brings to a lot of his work, from a style standpoint. But again, his colors are awesome. The greens, the blues, yeah, and then yeah, this is a nice one. This one will be hanging up.
Yeah, yeah, this one is definitely always has a prominent spot. Yeah, another iconic piece with Conan. So I always love the damsels in distress, and yeah, just kind of gave him a idea of Conan fighting an octopus with mermaids, and he ran with it. So again, just beautiful colors. Everything pops on this thing.
Yeah, no, I love the colors on this one too. The turquoise, the reds, the oranges. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah, just nails it. Definitely nails it.
here you go.
Yeah, this was the King Kong. So this is actually, we have this on our website also, as a movie poster. So we put the King Kong titles on this, and we did it for the 80th anniversary of the release of King Kong, of the 1933 version. But yeah, so I had a limited edition print run of this, and so it's got the titles on there, and yeah, I've sold. I think we sold 200 of these over the years now. So I think
Mhm.
I had a print run of 250, and I think I probably got 10 or 15 of them left. And San Julian signed, I think, 95% of them. So still got a few left. So if anybody wants them, go to the IBA website.
This is the one that got damaged though.
Yeah, this one came in damaged. Yeah, got crushed. The tube got crushed, and yeah, so I had to send it back to him, and he touched it up, and yeah, just looks still amazing. Iconic image right there.
Definitely.
Yeah, more Conan and dinosaurs. I think you're seeing a theme here. Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, and same thing. He, gave him an idea, and um, I was so floored when I got this and opened it up, and the colors, just how he arranges the colors in these things. It's just amazing. I mean, it just really is amazing. And this piece is even bigger. This is probably the biggest piece that I have of his, and this is like 4 feet by almost 5 feet. So it's huge,
Now,
enormous.
when you're commissioning him, I mean, are you actually telling him what size you want the piece to be, or giving him a range of what you're willing to have him work on? Because you have to be thinking about where you're going to hang this.
Yeah. Well, so what happens is he comes up with a sketch. So he draws all the sketches pretty much the same size,
Hmm.
and then when he comes up with his sketch, and then I'll come back to him and say, okay, hey, let's do it in this size, because he's got price ranges of what each size is going to cost,
Okay.
and so depending on how much I love the sketch, is how much I usually am willing to pay at the time.
Right.
Yeah, so
Do you have a
the
lot of back and forth with them where, maybe I mean, it
no,
seems to me
no,
if like as a you've been a great patron to him, with
yeah,
all the meetings you've picked up. So you have a good rapport and an idea what you want to pay, and and he has an idea of what you want to get out of a commission, and so it must be a lot easier after all the times you've done it.
Yeah. I mean, the first couple ones, there was definitely back and forth because, especially with the communication,
Hmm.
barrier. So it was definitely challenging. But after the first couple, and we just got into a groove, and it was just never a question. It's like he'd come up with a sketch, and he'd say, this is what I want for it in this size, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. So
Yeah. Well, that's great.
yeah. Yeah, this one. So this one I actually sketched out for him. Um, so really kind of had a vision of what I wanted um, in my mind of how I wanted Conan positioned, and the octopus and kind of like on a sacrificial altar, and kind of Conan coming in to save the day. So again, I just it and this kind of goes back. If you look at back some of those early eerie and creepy magazines, this is very. My dog just opened the door and came in. Yes, this is very much, kind of goes back to those early covers as far as the mood of the whole image. So yeah, just amazing, and to see these pieces up front. I mean, I literally, when I had them in my other house and in my office, you just sit there and I'm in there and I find myself just staring at these pieces over and over again because it's just amazing. It's just the talent is just incredible.
Yeah, that's a cool piece, definitely. No, I think we're moving away from San Julian now. I think the way
Okay.
let's see.
Oh yeah, Eric.
Eric,
So
yeah, I love his
yeah,
stuff.
so I met Eric at the IX show. He was not in the main showcase, but in the hotel, and he's in there and he's drawing these images. And after chatting with him and showing me how he came up with all his ideas and how he was, taking the charcoal and moving it around on the paper, and then just how he moved it around, and then the image would come to him, and I was like just so fascinated by his whole process. And I said, can you do one for me that where the guy is kind of like a centaur, but kind of tied to the woods. Hold on, I gotta shut this door. um, my daughter just got home and she's here with all her friends, 16 years old. So,
Oh
uh,
boy.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so I just thought it was such a cool image, and it's small. This is one of the little. I think it's maybe 8 by 10.
Mm.
So a small image. So I have this up in my bathroom and get to look at it every single day.
Yeah, we always talk about like where there's always something hanging in the bathroom that I think I have two paintings. I actually have like a power or no, not paintings. I have one painting by my daughter and one a Powerpuff Girls illustration.
You're laughing. I
I'm,
could.
I'm, I'm laughing. I don't know why it ended up in the bathroom, but I get to look at that every day. But so did he actually draw this for you at the show? It wasn't like a
Yeah,
pre-done
yeah. He
piece.
drew. He drew it,
That's sweet.
completed it for me at the show. Yeah, and yeah, I was just super happy. And
Yeah, because
uh,
because typically you don't see too many, other than in demonstrations at IX, you don't really see a lot of artists drawing at IX, even at the showcase. So that's kind
yeah,
of that's really rare because I can't even think of a time when I've seen somebody, because it's always it has that trade show vibe, right? I mean,
yeah,
everybody is usually in front of their table, forward facing, socializing,
yeah.
and they don't have a lot of time to create while they're there.
Right. Yeah, and that was one of the cool things about Eric that I thought was amazing is he's out there just showing every step of the way in his process and how he thinks and approaches his art, and it's just so impressive. I sat there for like an hour with him chatting and watching what he was doing, and he's just describing everything. If you ever get a chance, Eric Messenger, he's got a great YouTube. He does a lot of stuff on YouTube. But yeah, it's very cool to watch him explain how he draws and how he comes up with these images. This one I bought from him. This was actually the cover. He did a wine company did a limited edition cover for their wine label.
Hmm.
So I bought this from him, and he ended up sending me the wine bottle also. So I got the wine bottle in a nice box, and so it was very cool to have both pieces.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the artist was last year that had done some like brewery labels. Gosh, who was that? I figure I remember looking at him and thinking, that would be cool to have because I've
yeah,
got a bar and I thought it'd be neat to have some of those. I don't know. I don't remember which artist that was now though. Shoot. But,
yeah,
yeah, I'll have to dig around 'cause you never know what you're gonna find. A lot of the artists will have, they don't most of the art isn't in portfolios, but they'll have a lot of, things you can flip through. Not
right.
bins, but different ways to display artwork, usually unique that they kind of come up with on their own, and, yeah, I remember just, like, digging through this one guy's stuff, and I saw, like, 2 or 3 beer labels at the back of it, and I was like, "Yeah, if I come back to these, I'm gonna buy them," and I didn't go back,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because Eric's beard is exactly like this guy's.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a big old beard, like he's a mountain man. He lives here in Arizona too, which is great.
Man.
So
Oh, I hear
this
you.
was,
Ken Kelly, right?
yeah, this was. So what's crazy about this? So just loving the backstories is I was in a Kmart when I was a kid, and again, probably around that 1980 time period or earlier, and bought this as a puzzle. This was a puzzle piece. Um,
Really?
yeah, and the amazing thing is when I bought this at Heritage, they actually sent me the puzzle with it. Um, yeah, so very cool. But yeah,
That's funny.
and I think this is, this was very, very heavily influenced by Frazetta. This was early in Ken Kelly's career. This again was one of the, again, what was it, creepy or eerie? I don't remember which one. You probably can see it, but yeah, very early piece from probably in the what like eerie 60 something or creepy 60 something. But yeah, early in Ken's career when he did this, and I think it's one of his best pieces. And this piece I've been emailed on. I can't even tell you how many times people have emailed me on CAF to try to buy this piece from me. But yeah, it's just one of my favorites.
Yeah, Creepy 81.
Creepy 81. Okay.
So did the puzzle have the, like, creepy logo on it too? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah, Robert Berman says that color palette would make one difficult puzzle. That's probably very true.
yeah,
Those large flat planes of color, yeah, would not be easy. Just like, but if the creepy logo is up there, I guess it would make it a little bit easier. But still, that's pretty cool. And Ken, everybody I think knows, Ken Kelly was what the only Frazetta only had one pupil in his lifetime, and it was Ken Kelly. I think if you go to the I guess if I am able to go to the art museum, I'll get to see Ken Kelly's easel is there. That the family donated it when Ken passed, and that's
yeah,
part of the museum. So yeah, Ken's got a very interesting backstory, and definitely made a really good career,
yeah,
doing
yeah.
what
I
he
mean,
was
he did
doing.
all those covers for Kiss. I mean,
Hmm.
those.
Yeah.
And what else did he do? God, he did some other covers. I can't remember what it was called. The Microbots or something like that. Somebody might know, but yeah. So yeah, he those covers, especially the Kiss ones. Oh my God, there's those go for big money.
Yeah, anything that has, like, crossover appeal with anything is like that. But now is this the first piece? Remember,
Yeah,
you were talking
yeah.
about earlier?
This was the first piece I bought at Heritage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. Just a And the thing is I didn't have the money at the time because they had this, and then they had the original painting that went with it too, and I didn't have the money at the time to buy the painting, so I bought this. But this is huge. This is probably 2 foot by 3 foot. So one of Ken's biggest, ink drawings. So definitely an enormous piece for ink.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now, is this something that you framed, or is it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
have this.
you good.
Yeah, yeah. This is up on the wall. So
Yeah, that's amazing. You don't see too many ink pieces from Ken Kelly.
yeah,
I don't believe anyway. I don't think there's hardly any on calf, but that's awesome. And at that size too.
yeah, yeah. I think he was really again because this was early in his career. He was really influenced heavily, obviously, by Frazetta, like you were saying. So yeah, I think Frazetta did so many of those, the Kubla Khan and all those great
Mhm.
ink drawings that he did over the years, and so I think that's what influenced Ken to do this piece.
Well, we just saw that one Frazetta Kubla Khan piece, right? Getting it. That was part of the last signature auction that they had. Was that right? Or maybe I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
With it. Anyway, no, this is great. Great pickup.
yeah.
So have you not? I mean, have you owned Frazettas?
I've never owned a Frazetta. No.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I wish. Um, yeah, I wish I would have bought some many years ago, but yeah, it never happened.
Yeah, I remember when. Gosh, what it might have been like the third IX because Patrick had a really nice pen and ink Frazetta, and he did a little gallery in the like at this look where they were at. And you might not have ever been to this place. This it was an odd spot, but it was cool seeing that piece. And I remember where, he ended up selling it, and but I remember it resold at Heritage not too long ago for literally like 8 times what he sold it for not 15 years ago.
Yeah,
And I think about that, and it's like, wow, I could own that for like 10 grand, and it'd be about $100,000 piece right now. It's
yeah.
just amazing where how the market has changed so much on
Well,
his
again, it
pieces.
gets back to like we were talking about. There's only a finite amount of original art out there, and
Yeah,
you know, you, whatever that image is, it's never going to be reproduced. By that artist again. You know,
right.
that same type of image. And this was again the same thing. One of my favorite images from the creepy era. Um, yeah, just loved this cover. Thought it was just amazing. Again, very, very heavy, thick, layered painting, and just amazing. One of my favorites.
Yeah, another great one by Ken Kelly. Marcus, I want to know if he's gave me so have you owned any artwork? I have not, Marcus, but if I were to own anything, I'd be looking at the small pen and ink illustrations just to be able to say I owned a Frazetta, right?
Yeah.
But that clearly is not what you go after. If you were going to get something, you'd probably, that's not like a prelim. You don't seem to collect prelims. You
Yeah, no. What's funny is I've been offered because the stuff's been up on CAF. I've been offered quite a few prelims for the paintings that I do own.
hmm
Yeah, and I've never gone after the prelims. I guess I guess I'm a purist at heart and want the original and what I grew up as a kid loving and admiring.
hmm
Um, and that's one of the things that the artists that I collect. It's like I'm in awe of them because I'm like it's something I feel like I could never do. So I think that's kind of a prerequisite to my collecting. Is that it's got to be something that I could never do in my lifetime. So
right. And yes, Marcus, I would go for a cheap Frazetta if I could. I have actually been on a few from Heritage in the past. I mean, those small scribbly illustrations, probably done after his stroke, then done left-handed or whatever. But
yeah,
uh, because there's a lot of those out there, and again, I wish I would have bought one. They were more plentiful on the market 15 to 20 years ago. You'd see 4 or 5 of them out there at any given time, and now when they come up, if it's a decent one, they're selling for a lot more than I want to pay right now.
yeah,
But would I?
yeah,
Sure, I'd love to. Absolutely.
yeah,
I'd right now I'd be happy just if I could buy like I'd be happy with no dwarf or no babe, but just a little axe on the ground drawn by Frazetta. I'd buy that in a heartbeat, absolutely, because you know you
No,
want to.
100.
It'd be cool to have a
Those,
representative example, right,
yeah,
of from Frazetta.
yeah,
Um, Now, we, I love Eric's work, Velhagen, and this is very, very cool. I know we got like, I know you have two of these pieces that we're going to show here, but his style is just so, I don't know. Every time I
unique.
see his work, I love his painting. He's just unique approach, one of the nicest guys you're ever going to talk to.
Yep.
So, I mean, and yeah, yeah. I've actually never buy prints, but because I couldn't afford any of his originals, I bought like 5 of his prints at one show because
Yeah.
and I've got a couple of them. Are they in? No, they're actually in the main house because I just love his work so much. And I was so happy when you picked up. I don't remember you didn't pick this one up, at least I don't remember when I was there. But the piece we're gonna look at.
It's if you have them in order, it's the next one.
Yeah,
But yeah, I thought this one was just so cool. Again, just like you said, he's got such a unique approach, a unique style. You can definitely tell his style. You know, there's there's a not a whole lot of artists out there where you see them and you go, oh, that's a Ken Kelly, that's a Frazetta. You see them and you immediately know that it's their work. And Belhagen's one of those guys. This is the piece that I remember at IX. I was asking you if I should buy this one or another artist, and you're like, "This one is so unique, get it?" And I'm like,
yeah. I couldn't
"Yeah,
help it. I was so mad. I mean, I wasn't mad. I was glad that you were able to buy it, but I remember that was the show when I realized how great Eric was. And I remember, I think my answer to you was, whatever the other piece was like, you can get another one that looks like that, but you're never going to get another one that looks like this Velhagen, you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I think he had that painting up on the wall that was like it was a Lord of the Rings piece with like a Balrog fighting something too. I mean, his exhibit just stood out from everybody else's,
yeah,
because his style was so cool. And yeah, to this day, I mean, I love looking at his work because it seems so easy, but it's not.
yeah,
He uses a palette knife. He's moving lots of paint, but he gets so much great detail with seemingly, it seems so effortless. I mean, I just
no,
love his work.
100%. Yeah, and it's so funny because I literally I search CAF constantly, just hoping some of the images that I really, really love also will come up there and somebody will sell one. But yeah, his stuff, people don't let go of it. It's crazy.
I
I
don't
think,
blame him. If I ever got one, I would never let it go. And what was the size on this one? I remember it on the wall, but
I think it was like maybe, I want to say like 16 by 32, something like
yeah,
that.
I was basically going to say the same thing. It's
Yeah.
less than 3 feet wide, but probably, yeah, at least 32 by 16. I mean, it
Yeah.
was sizable. And again, the artist's name is Eric Velhagen. I'm trying to like get
Yeah.
his website up here.
Yeah, Velhagen, Velhagen.
Yeah,
But
I'll
yeah,
throw
he's
this.
got some amazing pieces. He had some stuff in Spectrum early on, is when I first became aware of him, and then I met him at IX. And it was funny because the other piece that I wanted sold, and then this piece was the other piece, and I ended up buying this. But yeah, I've always just kicked myself for not buying the other piece also. It's,
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, people can see it. Yeah, this was the painting I remember was up beside the one that we're showing here. I'm gonna put that in the chat. Uh, yeah, I can't show it to you. Well, no, I don't want. I could switch over to it, but his work is just phenomenal.
yeah,
I I truly, and it was why I never bought. I've never bought prints before. I bought prints of his
yeah.
stuff. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
unique,
good.
and what's also unique about is the imagery. I think he most of this is probably one of a lot of his images are in action. So
Mm.
there's a lot of times there's a lot of movement. Um, but I think that's what kind of separates him is the image itself. This one is obviously a woman and dragons, so it's been done a million times, but just different how he pictures it, and how they're situated on the canvas. So I think that's one of the most unique things is he has a different perspective on how the either the dragon or the mermaid or the woman is situated. And he's done a lot of stuff for Tolkien. He did the whole Tolkien calendar
Mhm.
series, and even those, were different takes on it. If you look at them, they're not what you would have expected for a lot of those images. I mean, I was floored when he came up with those. And I was like, wow, I would have never came up with that idea for that particular image. So I think that's what's unique about him. He has a different, I guess, you know, eyesight for it or a different view on what the image should be.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
No, without question. Yeah. No, I'm looking I put the link in the chat to his site, but I'm just going through his stuff right now, just reminding myself how great it is, but,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to see him at IX again. I'm sure he's probably not
Yeah,
on the
he's
schedule.
he's threatened to go. He's been in there a couple times and then ended up not going for one reason or another. But yeah, I miss him. Yeah, definitely a good
Yeah.
guy also.
Yeah, without question. But, all right, where are we going to from here? Oh, this ended up being on one of the IBA covers as well.
Yeah,
It
this was
it
one of the limited edition covers.
That's right.
Yeah, Mark Poole. Um, this was one of the ones I came up and said, hey Mark, this is an idea I have of a dragon coming out of a waterfall, and instead of doing your normal, busty woman, with a sword, let's make it, in the Southwest with an Indian. And so he took it and ran with it. And I think he just hit it out of the ballpark. Mark's super talented, and he's again one of those guys that has that layering approach that I love. So it's definitely great colors and imagery, and just really makes you want to know what happens next in the storyline.
Yeah, that's true. I should have been doing this all along. I'll throw a link to Mark Poole's website in the chat too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love his stuff too. He's
yeah, he does. God, he's so active now with Wizards and all of that. So yeah, I wish he would get back to doing stuff that he loves instead of so much so much of the gaming stuff.
right. Well, that's where the money is these days, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
you've
hey,
probably
gotta
followed
pay the
the
bills.
Magic the Gathering market.
Yeah,
They have
Magic. Yeah,
that Facebook group, and uh there definitely was a heyday in the beginning of the pandemic where there was just a few artists making, ungodly sums of money for new Magic paintings that were coming out,
yeah,
uh and they're still doing really well today, which is great. I
yeah,
mean, uh it's uh it's great that there's an aftermarket that's that strong for those pieces, and it's hard to call it nostalgic when they're new pieces coming out, but it just shows you the demand on the IP, for the properties, and
yeah,
uh I don't know, I think it's great. And that you've seen the Marvel crossovers with Magic the Gathering now. That's generated a whole ton of interest on both sides. So the same thing, like those pieces are selling for really well on those platforms too. But
yeah,
uh
and
yeah.
that makes me happy. I mean, that was one of the biggest things. When you and I kind of got together and were putting together Infected by Art, was how can we get it out there to as many people as possible? How can we help promote these artists that so many of them, unless you see a particular book cover or if you go to an IX show, the mainstream public isn't never going to see. So, and that's, I think also what's great about the Infected by Art website is you can go on and like CAF, search artists and, I'm blown away every year by artists that I've never heard of. All of a sudden they
Hmm.
submit some pieces, and I'm like, wow, now I'm a fan. Now I know of their name. And there's been so many stories of them getting work because of it. Art directors and illustrators and book covers and stuff, and so many artists have gotten work because of stuff they've published and Infected by Art. So I think that's the biggest part of the battle that we've won so far with publishing this book.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Outside
for
of
sure.
the so outside of editing the book, that's the one thing I don't like doing, uh, I do have help doing that now, I have somebody else help looking over some of the stuff too, 'cause it's a lot of work, you
Oh
don't
yeah,
wanna make any mistakes and stuff, but we've been lucky to work with, Nissa for the last few years doing the book design. She's just solid, so
yeah,
and thorough and gets the work done quick, even if we can't get it turned around as quick as we want when it comes to printing these dang things.
yeah.
But
Every year it's we come down to the wire with the printing and getting the books to arrive at IX on time. It's crazy.
yeah, one of these days it'll actually get shipped normally,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah, 'cause so everybody knows we literally go through a process where they end up air shipping the books to IX, and that's where the books get debuted at. Um, and it's just every year, it doesn't matter how soon we manage to get the production done. We could be done in May. Like the competition ends and submissions end in December. We get the jury panel done, selecting all the artwork by second weekend or the second week in January, jump right into production, get that stuff done by early May, and we still can't get the books shipped because it's overseas. We can't get them shipped by boat where it would be cheaper. We always have to airmail 350 books to just
Which
for which
yeah,
is which is yeah, we're talking thousands of dollars to mail
yeah,
books away that we're going to we give away a book to every artist at IX. So we
yeah. And
literally give away
it costs us $100 a book, and we give those.
literally to give them away to
Yeah,
every artist at the show,
yeah,
and
crazy.
we sell a fair number there to the collectors that come in, but it's still that's why you can see it's a labor of love.
Yeah,
It's so stressful every single year to just try
yeah.
to get the books there on time. Do we even know if the books arrived? Because they were supposed to arrive early. I didn't see an email saying they got there.
I did not actually. I just saw that they were supposed to be there Friday. So
Right. So, but we don't know.
yeah, I'll check. I'll check to make sure.
Yeah, we probably should follow up just to make sure they arrive safe and
Yeah,
sound.
that
But
they're not sitting down the street at some library.
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh man. Well, see, I told look, we made it to 2 hours, man. I told you 2 hours goes
yeah.
like that.
Time flies.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But I'm looking forward to getting to hang out, at IX. I'm glad you're getting there. I was worried that you were literally going to arrive like Saturday morning or something, and then we weren't even going to see each other. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but no, that's good. Thursday's good, and I'll let you know tomorrow about the rooming situation and everything.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for having me on finally.
Yeah, it's a little
I'm
overdue.
not the ugly redheaded stepchild anymore. I actually made it on.
No, no, no. Well, we know. Yeah, I apologize, Todd.
No, no,
It's
it's awesome. Yeah.
no,
Fix it up.
it's
Better late than
overdue, but
never.
well worth it. So yeah, cool. Well, I'll see you in a few weeks, and
Yeah, sounds
again,
great. Thanks
thanks for
for
doing
having
this.
me.
I hope everybody, if you're not familiar with Infected by Art, we put the link in there. But also, if you're not familiar with the IX Art Show, you definitely should check it out. It's a show worth going to at
Amazing.
least once in your life, just to see, literally you'll be blown away just by a day of walking around and just getting to see the pieces, because you'll never see that much much art in one place, in this genre,
That you can
anywhere.
buy. That you can buy.
Right,
Yeah,
and all of it you can
that's the
buy.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I think what makes it so unique. It's not only the talent that's there, but that you can chat and have discussions with these artists, and really get to know them. And yeah, it's just amazing. It's truly an amazing
Right.
place.
And it is true, the crossover, because I first met one of the OX artists is EM Gist, right? And he's a cover painter for a lot of different publishers these days. But I met him um, in say 2018, 2017, he was set up right next to our booth where we were selling the books, and never seen his work before. But I think he was most of his artwork was like Marvel busts, that were
Yeah.
hanging up, and I was like, man, you're good.
Yeah.
You should, I think people need to know about your work, right? And he was just all humble and everything. But then, like 3 years later, he's painting for Marvel, painting for Ninja Turtle covers and all this other stuff. So you just never know where these guys are going to end up. Jeremy Wilson, he's doing a lot of work. He's rep by Tatiana, from TD Art, but Jeremy Wilson's been at IX for years, and
Yeah.
it's a really
Yeah.
unique
Yeah, it's
style.
super unique. One of those artists that you see his work and you're like, yeah, that's Wilson. You know it immediately.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
All
Very
right,
cool.
everybody. Well, listen, we're calling it a night, but thank you for hanging out with us, Todd. As always, look
Yeah,
forward to
absolutely.
seeing you in a few weeks. But everybody, you have a wonderful night, and
Awesome.
we'll be back at it again soon.